Hey, welcome back to Juxtaposed. I am MVP, and today we're going to talk about double standards. Okay, so K-Styles. I was watching. Well, hold on. Introduce yourself, man. Just in case they don't know.
First of all, if you don't know by now, you will never. Nah, I hope you know me, somebody. Let's not say never. But I'm gonna be K-Styles today. I was Jeff last time.
You were Jeff. I don't know. Jeff was rocking the blood colors and everything. I wasn't too sure about that guy.
The color is red, and it makes up 80% of the colors in the world. I just made that number up, but I said it confidently, so you know it's right. But yeah, so K-Styles. It's this one is I'm intrigued. Let's jump right into it, man. Let's get to it.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I came across Abba and Preach, right? A couple guys on YouTube. And they were looking at this video of young ladies giving their preference of men they date and what their expectations are, right? So I thought that was interesting and brought it to K-Styles' attention, and he did a little bit further digging and found more information on it. What did you find? Because I feel
so this looks like it's the original poster's YouTube name is Courtney Ryan. Okay. And what she did was she surveyed a bunch of women to find out what they really think. The idea, I guess, was to have it be the actual words from people when it comes to like what the things women care about. So they asked them about their salary, they asked them about their job title, they asked them about hobbies. So I want to be fully transparent. We pulled out some clips that we're going to talk about. Doesn't represent the whole thing. I don't think these women were speaking for all women, so I don't want to make any blanket assumptions, but we're going to just react to some of the things that we found very interesting from the opposite side, because we're the people that, I guess it was intended for. So, and Abba and Preach, they went in on them.
Yeah, they definitely did.
If you want to see that, we're going to link the video in the bottom, but we're just going to give you our juxtaposed safe place conversation, which might get spicy, but still, it's not going to be as bad as Abba and Preach because they went in. But yeah, so we're going to jump into there's two clips from that one video, and then we have another video that I found afterwards through my friend DJ12. And okay. We're going to get into that too. It's all about what we really think are double standards, or just, things
around that conversation.
Yeah, things that men and women struggle with on both sides. So with no further ado, let's hop into the first one that we have set up here.
All right.
Enough to live a life of leisure, in a sense.
Wait, stop. I want to stop. This first one, they're talking about salary. And so okay. I want to make sure I set that up right, because they came in, they talked about other stuff, but in this case right now, with the way that we started the clip, they're talking about salary. So we're going to jump right in. Sorry.
I would say enough to live a life of leisure, in a sense, like not have to worry about your rent, your utilities, stuff like that, but also obviously a more desirable man would be able to take care of our kids, of myself, of our older parents. So I would say somewhere between $400K to wherever. Like, there's no bar.
No bar.
At 23, if I were to be dating a man right now, 80K is pretty good. 80 to 100K is what I'd be looking for. Yeah, somewhere around 80 to 100K in your mid-20s. The man that I expect to be with, I want him to be a hustler and a go-getter too. And, the harder you work, the more you work, the higher you're going to move up, the more your salary is going to raise. I think 6 figures is definitely decent for, it's a little, you got to work hard for it nowadays, but for an income, you know, to create a family and things of that nature, like at least 100,000 is acceptable. I mean, we'll take less, but it just depends on your job and your career and what you're doing.
Yeah, a lot of girls have said that, and I actually just recently read the statistic where only 2% of men between the ages of 20 and 40 make 6 figures and are over 6 feet, which is like 2 of the things that women typically say they want.
Right.
But it's crazy to think about the fact that there's only 2% of men
Yeah, that are out
making
there.
that much. Yeah,
I'll take a short guy that makes $1 million all day long.
that's a fair compromise, right?
Yeah, that's sad because I plan to be making 100K or more, hopefully before 30. So
She's crazy.
that is crazy.
Hobbies matter a lot to me. They must be aligned with something that we want to do together. It's kind of like counting it as our quality time together. I think that makes the relationship very, very strong is shared hobbies. And even if I don't like some of the hobbies that he has, I would try to be a part of it as like a supportive partner, and vice versa. I would expect the same from him. Something like
Okay, cool. So there's a one part about that last one I'll
Mhm.
bring back. We'll talk about because we went into hobbies and everything. So
Okay.
starting off, what are your thoughts on the things you just heard?
Drake, 400K, 400K. Like, come on, bro. Like, who? I would love to talk to this lady. Who are you dating? Like, who has 400K and is? I mean, are we talking about like celebrities or something? Like we're talking about just the average Joe here. I think more context, but I think they're talking about just in general. Which, just in general, people, forget men and women, people are not making 400K. And we're talking about, because I was looking into it, people with like homes of families don't even reach 100K. And it's 2 breadwinners in the home with kids. And they don't even have 100K. So you're looking for a guy. I mean, and it was funny because she said, that's the medium. Like, that's the men. Like, the max can go to the roof.
Wherever.
I'm like, hold up, you're setting the men? It's funny because I'm saying men as in M-I-N, but
I don't know if
you
this ever said out loud, but yes, yeah, go ahead.
but you're setting the men to 400K, and then you hear somebody else, they're like 23 years old. Dude, have you? So
I think
I ain't gonna say my age.
No,
but I'm older than 23. Huh?
I do want to say I think she was 23 based on the conversation. She's like at 23 I'd want to date. So I think either she's 23 or she's like close to there, and so my thought process on that is probably a little bit I give her a lot of grace, and I'll tell you why. At 23 I thought I was by 30 I'm gonna have this. At 30 I'm gonna get this GTR. I'm gonna be sitting on $1 million. And, I don't have a GTR and I'm older than 30. And you know what? Life recalibrates your ambitions a little bit as you get older. So I just thought that was interesting. But go ahead. You were about to say something.
My thing is, at that age, even if you're like you said, like you're not really, like your expectations are like whatever. But I mean, if you look at your surroundings, what does it even look like? Like at 23, I had just got like my first car, which was like a used joint, and it wasn't the best car. I was like just getting out of like college or whatever, because I did a couple years and then, I did something else. But like even in college, you don't have money like that. And one of the things I was like, yo, when I was in my 20s, I was like, I lived with, like, I had roommates. You probably don't have roommates if you're making 80K to 100K, right? So I had roommates, we had bills, and then I had to like manage the dating part of it, because as the guy, double standards. Not only do I need to make 100K, but I also have to pay for everything, right? And as I was growing up, that was just default. Like there's more thought into it now, but at default, the guy pays for everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question, right? Even if you're out with your homegirl and your homegirl's friends, you pay for all of them. That's the standard. If you didn't know, get familiar. So,
is it the standard now still though?
yes. That's why we're having the conversation. Because that's interesting. I thought it was interesting where it's like, the guy has to pay for everything, right? But then I heard like someone flip it and was like, oh, it's dependent on who asks for the date. And I'm like, well, if it's the guy who's supposed to ask for the date, you're being really clever right now. Because how often do women ask for dates?
Well, I think it happens.
That would be the question.
So here's the thing. I think it's funny as you see these two worlds collide, because you have what would be considered old school values, and then you have this, for all intents and purposes, I would say a new age, challenging gender norms, all of these things, and we're just in the middle getting knocked left and right, bro. Like, it's like one day, people are like, oh, we're independent, but you should still, pay for all of my bills and stuff like that. And it's like, it's like, at which point do you decide where you want to live? Like, what do you want to do, right? So I think the thing with the 80K I find interesting, because that was something that, like, literally, you have to bust your rear end and to get to that, and even then it's not guaranteed. But it's just this expectation that you're supposed to get this, and not a lot of direction on how to do it either. And that's the thing, that the hard part. But the thing that I find most interesting was the girl who said 400 is the minimum. I don't think they showed a clip where they told her about the 2%. They didn't show that clip. But I find it interesting because that person also said that the hobbies should be a shared interest, and you should have the same hobbies in order to make your relationship strong. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if because at the end of the day, I might be into something. You are a person before me.
That's the key. It's like these hobbies, typically people form these hobbies before they even meet the person that they're going to date or whatever, or significant other. Like if you're the type of person to have hobbies, and then you can probably bring somebody in, but most of the time you're going to have, especially if you're meeting someone in like middle age or whatever, you're going to have your different hobbies. And I don't think you can go in with this expectation of like, oh, your hobbies don't match with mine, so this relationship probably isn't going to work.
But that is interesting because it creates this hard line of what is required in order to be with this person. That, listen, by all means, have your standards. I'm not saying don't have your standards, but if you say I need somebody that's like, the girl afterwards is like, yeah, I'll take a dude that's under 6'1" that makes $1 million anytime. It's like that level of compromise you don't see. This one before that said she wants 400,000. She wants somebody that has the same hobbies as you. I don't like, okay, but there's a high likelihood that when you get to somebody that's in the 400 range, and I don't want to go super Kevin Samuels RIP, because I don't want to, he went off in a whole nother realm with it. But when you get to that, you have those guys have a lot more options, because it's 2% and everybody wants those guys based on those categories. Right? So you got, like, it is fascinating to me, especially the hobby thing was new for me. Like the height and the salary, that's we've been hearing that for years. That has been the correcting factor for us as men for a long time, because you're like, how do you get to the point where women are interested in you? You got to be tall, you got to be, rich, like all of these things you hear all the time. We've heard it since, think about the first time you heard that as a man growing up. I'm assuming it was really early.
I was gonna say I'm 6 feet, so I've never heard that, but I'm lying. I just wanted to let y'all know my size.
Oh, well, first of all, it's height. Please be. Size has a whole nother connotation, sir.
Height.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My height, and I'm like, with me being that size, height, I'm like, I feel for the shorter guys because I don't think that's right, yo. Like, I don't think, like they said, it's only like you're already cutting out like half of the potential romantic interest that you could have because I think the average height is like 5'11".
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, automatically you're like, yo, if you date me, you gotta be above average. And I guess where the double standard comes in is, okay, but are you requesting this and you're like below average or average? Can you request someone to be above average if you're not even above average?
Well, and that's where the slippery slopes, begins. This is where, it's like there's been a lot of focus on the things that are expected of men in order to make you a suitable suitor. in order to make you a suitable pick for somebody, you
There's
need
a lot
to
of
be
S's going on
I know,
in this.
right? You
Slippery slope of I almost had it. Slippery slope of suiting suitors. There we go. I did it. Say it 4 times fast now.
Suitable suitor. But no,
There you
no. Think about like how many things that is, and I'm like, back in the day, bro, I just had to have a couple cows, like
What?
That's all I
And
need.
a couple goats.
Yeah, bro. Literally, that's when people had arranged marriage in the old worlds, it's like, yo, bro,
Yeah.
I'm putting your family together. Hey, man, you go talk to the father. It's like, here's a cow. A good
We
cow.
good?
A good cow. But
Right.
I mean, realistically, I don't want that
The
life.
highest quality.
Because people were they were putting you together with whoever. And even though I've heard the theory that arranged marriages probably would work a lot better.
Really?
If the categories were selected properly. A lot of times, you think about the things that don't work with relationships. People get into relationships based on things that don't match up in the total, in the grand scheme of things. They look at, well, this person is, they have a 6-pack, so that automatically makes them feel like, oh, this is the person to marry. I'm like, yeah, but realistically, you're like you're eight hamburgers away from losing that 6-pack, bro. Or the person who's required, in order to keep that 6-pack, you need a person who goes to the gym and eats, and that might require you to deal with somebody who's completely vain. Now, they may not match what you want, but a lot of marriages are built on things that are not solid. It's like, I've always looked at marriages as like, well, this is like a merger, right? Like if 2 companies are merging together, there's a lot of due diligence that happens. You need to make sure that this matches that, your policies match, you know what I'm saying? Like there's work that happens, and that doesn't necessarily happen in relationships. And that go into marriages. So that's why, like, arranged marriages, at least you know that, well, you're not getting married for any like fictitious, like, oh my God, yeah, this person is great. They look like a good match, but you're getting married because there's a joining of families or something, right? So, but we could go on longer on that one. I just wanted to play this last part, which the funny thing about it is this is something that I do naturally, just because I feel like I'm, protective person in general. And this doesn't even matter if somebody I'm dating. Like I do with pretty much any woman I'm around in general. But the way that this girl said it kind of pissed me off. Let's get right into
something like so little. I don't know if this is even considered a manner, but I love when I'm walking on the street or like the sidewalk and the guy is like taking the street side and I'm like inside closer to like the buildings. I feel like that is like an important manner that goes unnoticed because like if something were to happen, it's like the guy's out there and I'm like safe.
So I don't know why. Okay, 2 parts. I don't know why it's pissing you off, but I love that because I learned about that later on in my years of awesomeness, right? Oh. And I was like, oh, because I'm the type of, I say it over and over, I'm the type of person, I want to be correct in my movements with whoever, right? I'm the type of person open doors for people so it doesn't slam in their face. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl, right? It's just manners. And so when I learned about the sidewalk thing, I was like, oh man, I've been walking with, the women that I know all the way wrong. And so I started doing that. And it was interesting because like one of the first times I did that, the girl looked at me like, boy, that's your game. Like,
What?
oh, you're trying to
What, appear protective? Like,
manipulate me by
what?
acting like you're like, yeah, that's the vibe she gave me. Not even the vibe, that she pretty much was like, boy, like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, man, no, it's a protection thing. And she's like, if you don't get out of here. And I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, damn, like that was I learned about how to maneuver to make people feel more safe and comfortable. And someone took that as it's all about intentions, right? They took that as bad intentions. And I'm like, I don't know how to tackle that when you're like, okay, the standard is this and the standard is this. I've had the standard where it's like, yo, I'm supposed to pay for everything. And I go to pay for it and the girl's like, nah, let's go half. And I'm like, am I supposed to take that as she ain't really feeling me? Or is she just like different than other women?
Well,
there's a fine balance between these standards. And I'm like, I think the conversation has to be had, because what is the right move? Like, if I do this, you're like, oh, you're trying to like be over like aggressive with, hey, I'm paying for everything. Some women feel like you're trying to demean them by that, right? But most of like the modern women nowadays, I think, prefer you to pay, and for their friends. And even the girl said, she was like, yo, you need to make enough to take care of my parents. I was like, what? So I'm paying for you. I'm paying my bills, your bills. I'm taking care of your parents' bills too? Hold up. And I got to be 6 feet. I don't know, man.
Well,
I don't know.
The one thing I would tell you is that you have to, my philosophy.
Okay.
You do what you feel is best for you. So I don't change who I am because of somebody who's unwilling to accept how you do things, right? Like, for example, in that specific case where you moved and you're like, you moved on the other side and they're like, oh, you're trying to manipulate me. Like, no, I'm just trying to make sure everybody's safe. That's just how I do. I'm not trying to do anything. But then you say to that, like, because I think that what happens too is that a lot of times, with a lot of cases, I don't say a lot. I've seen in my interactions with a lot of women that sometimes they're used to dealing with shitty guys who would try to manipulate them, guys who would do it. So that goes back to the paying thing. I know that there's times when, guys pay for women with the expectation that there's gonna be sex afterwards, right? And it's like,
exactly.
No, that's not the thing. I think that, in a lot of cases, that's what women are used to, and so they're prepared to run into that when they see that, right? But you got to do what you feel is right. So for me, I think of, I remember there's a couple times I went out with people, and I've had both times where the women actually had an expectation for me to pay. We were going to the movies. I was reaching out my card to pay. She says, oh, you better be paying for both of us. I was like, that felt wrong to me. I literally I never went on a date with her again. We never hung out again, because I was like, I was going to do it. It was no question.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. Actually, the funny thing about it is, I think where we didn't work at the same place at that point, but we were making around the same money. So it wasn't like I had more money than her or whatever. But she expected that. And I feel like the expectation is what causes the problem there. So you got to do definitely. What, like if you are in yourself a protective person, and you go and you try to make sure people are safe, then you should do that regardless if one person says, oh, well, you're only doing this because you're trying to get into my pants. No, it's like, no, like literally, this is just me. So that
You'll
is my
know
thought.
when I'm trying to get in your pants.
All right, and we're canceled. All right. Anyway, but yeah, no. So like, I just think it's very fascinating. And one of the things I've realized more than anything else is that men and women do not do a good job of talking to each other.
True.
And we need to fix that, because you hear on one side women say, oh, men are this, blah, 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 blah. You have to be this in order to get that. And then on the other side, you hear men saying, well, these women only want this, da, 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 da. And it's like, somewhere along the lines we should have recalibrated our expectations, because we're trying to live by standards that were set by our parents and our parents' parents, and probably older than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that have been in play for such a long time, and no time did we ever say, hey, well, maybe this doesn't match for what we do now. Like, think about it this way. 80, 90 years ago, people didn't have the internet like this. You know, people didn't connect with people across the world. People weren't, you know, like, the information was not that accessible. So we can't expect that the world has advanced so much and then we're still doing the exact same things and it's going to work without any kind of questioning. So that is that. We got what, 2 more clips to go. One more clip from this that I just pulled out of it because it was something that I know would speak near and dear to both MVP and my heart, because we are people who I would say are casual gamers. You know, every now and again get the game in, you know, but there were some strong opinions about this. So we'll see what they have to say.
They don't define you, but they say a lot about who you are as a person. You know, if you like to nap all day, or besides work, your hobbies are playing video games, it's just a no-go for me. So
just anything that you're super passionate about can be really cool. Obviously, we talked about the video games thing, so video games are definitely a hobby, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but the balance is really important, just like with anything.
Yeah. So even if the guy were to watch sports for 4 hours a night or play video games 4 hours a night, it's about balance.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes, always.
So I would not consider video gaming an attractive hobby, but like working on a car, that's very attractive. Or like building something around the house, like something with your hands, very manly. I think that's more attractive.
Oh, a lot of people aren't going to like this. A guy who golfs all the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with golfing, but when you're with the boys all day, every day, like Saturdays, I got to go golfing with the boys. It's annoying. It's exhausting. Find something else to do. There's so many other things to do besides golf.
I was like, I don't know where she got the golf thing. She just put. I was like, yo, you're just attacking.
You know what's funny? I feel like just to speak to the golf thing, that must have been something she dealt with personally.
Yeah,
that felt like that came personally, because
very specific.
From my understanding is that there are a lot of deals done on the golf course. Like, there are a lot of people that play golf, and they play golf during their business meetings. And there's a lot of So you're talking about people making this lady in particular said she wanted people making 80 to 100 grand at 23. He got to be on the golf course. He might be on the golf course. That's what I'm saying. And you know, like, funny story is that me and Aaron, we literally played golf for like the first time. I haven't played golf in a long time, and he was one of the first time we played golf together, and it was a lot of fun. It was literally a lot of fun. So, like, why would that be a thing? Now, there were other people there that said, well, yeah, if you have, you know, hobbies that are more athletic and shit and stuff like that, then that's fine. But it was just that was very fascinating, and she knew it was fascinating because she said it was going to cause issues afterwards. But back to the video games part, because I'm very intrigued that we still, this goes back to my statement earlier. I'm very intrigued we have the same thought process about video games. Literally, you're talking about people making $400,000 a year. There are people that play in esports league that get paid close to LeBron James money. And if you don't know what LeBron James money is, it's big money. It's all capital letters when you talk about the salary. So it's funny that you would talk about video games as not being an attractive hobby when there are people who play video games right now that make more money than probably everybody on this video's salary combined. Now, that's not everybody. I do want to clarify, because it's just like anything else. There are people that excel at it, and some people who don't. It's like people who do music. People say, "Oh, you're doing music in your 30s." I'm like, "Yeah, I like music," and there are people that make money from it. So it's just fascinating. But what are your thoughts? I have more to ramble, but I'll let you go.
I think the video game thing is because they ain't getting enough attention, and I'm like, you do the things you want to do, you go and hang out with your girls at the spa and get your toes done, and you want to talk about guys being a man and women being women or whatever you're talking about, I don't go to the spa. I don't get my stuff pampered like that.
You probably should go to the spa.
I should, but if you want a man, like if you're based off what she's saying, she wants a man, right?
Well,
in the old store, hold on. Let me cook.
My bad.
Let me cook. The old school version is men don't do the spa stuff, but that's acceptable now. But yet, if I play games, I'm not a man. I don't see so men can do spa stuff. That's actually seen as healthy and taking care of yourself. But yet we still have this stigma about games. Come on, man. Y'all got to stop drawing. Where y'all drawing the line at?
There's no line, bro. It's a circle.
There's no line. So I'm like, yo, if I want to play games, I'm going to play games. Don't get mad because you don't get the attention you want while I'm playing the game. You see me having fun. You should come join and play the game. Maybe we can play games together, get on YouTube and Twitch and get to that 400K that you want so bad. What happened to helping each other grind? You know what I mean? What is this? 23, he needs to be 100. But then when she was talking about 83 or whatever, but when she was talking about herself, she's like, well, hopefully I'll get there and maybe I'll get the money. If I'm like, so it's hopefully for you. But for me, it's, you need that, or it ain't gonna be no relationship. Double standards, man. Double standards. Okay, go ahead, K-Sauce.
Okay, all right. Now that you got that off, I wasn't expecting that. That went. I knew it would be strong feelings. I didn't expect it would be that strong. The thing that I found interesting is once again here we are questioning our old school values versus new school rules. Right? That's my new thing. Old school values versus new school rules. Because the lady that said, or the person in the video, because I don't want to assume her gender, they said that working on a car is manly, or building things around the house is manly. And I'm like, but based on what? Right now we're in a space where, first of all, you might walk into somebody who doesn't know anything. They're not handy around at all. They might be great networking with people. They might have, they may be able to call, anybody on the phone and get it done. And they can, you give them a wrench and they're going to hit themselves over the head with it because they don't know what to do with it, right? So, where are these standards? And when are we going to recalibrate these standards? Because by those same standards, it should be expected that,
don't you do it.
All the other things.
Don't you say it.
I
dare you.
All the other things that were expected from women should be done. I'm not going any further than that.
I see how you cleaned it up. I see. You better be careful. I know we talking like we talking, but don't be foolish.
Hey, all I'm saying is that but really, from a whole, from a double standards aspect, things have changed, and rightfully so, because there was a long point where women can vote, women can work, and we have I want to say it's fixed because there's a lot of things that are not where it should be, but it's moving and it's trending in the right direction. But it's like, okay, well, we're changing on this aspect, but somehow the same expectations are required. Like, I'm not going to be outside working on my freaking Dodge in Levi jeans with a tank top on, because that's like the old American idea of like a manly man. Yeah. And while I pull my horse in the back, first of all, you know how expensive it is to own a horse? I'm gonna spend $400K just to keep the horse.
What's say?
Yeah, $400K.
You get $400K. You got this.
Bro, $400K just to keep the horse fed,
things.
bro. Dog, you know what I'm saying?
Tough.
It's a crazy thing. I think our generation, what we should really do is we should, call a summit. We sit down and we talk amongst each other. And I think, honestly, on a bigger realm too, I don't think there was a lot of representation from a African American black side in this. There was that one girl. But I think we need to do that even too, because I think there's a lot of spaces where we don't see eye to eye as far as men and women in the black community. And I think we need to sit down and do a summit. But once that summit is done, we do another summit with just men and women in general, because I think we don't talk to each other, man, and it's causing a lot of problems, a lot of rift. I'm tired of hearing that there's no good men out here. Da da da. You know, like I'm sick and tired of it. Like, when are we gonna sit down and analyze that? Maybe it's the men that you are choosing. Like, you know, like,
Ooh.
like let's talk about it.
And let's be fair, it could be the women
And the men
that men are choosing
Correct.
as well. Because we're level-headed.
But-
And my thing is... Oh,
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, like, I have no issue with balancing the game thing. But don't just come out and be like, you playing games, you're not a man. Like, some people... I feel like people have to have more compassion and understanding. And that view is closed-minded, especially in the year we're in. And gaming and technology is going through the roof. And I forget it. Take gaming out of it, right? Like, hobbies in general, you know? Because she mentioned golf. It's like, okay, if you feel some type of way about the golf, come golf with me. No? Well, then we'll do whatever you want to do. And then we'll do what I want to do. Or like some type of balance, but don't be like, oh, you're golfing with your friends all the time and da-da-da-da. It's like, that makes me feel like, hearing that from her, I was like, does she have friends?
Oh,
Like, do you have friends to do stuff with? Do you have,
I
don't know what, that's women business. Maybe somebody comment below, like, what do you do with your friends besides going to the bar and going to the club? Like, I think wineries is a thing now.
bro, wineries are fun
Go
as
to
hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Go to a winery or something.
Well, here's
Like,
the
I
thing.
won't be like, oh man, you're always going to the winery with your girls.
Well, but then again, there's one of the things that I found is very fascinating about a lot of the opinions here is a lot of it were rooted in what the woman wants to do. So it ties into this the trope or the statement of happy wife, happy life, which
Okay.
I always,
Real thing.
you know, like, to me, I think that I've always had issues with that. Not because you don't want a happy wife, but what about the husband? Are we relegated to being unhappy just as long as our wife is happy? And that's probably speaks to why we have such a high divorce rate. We should be happy as a couple. My opinion, if I'm spending my life with you,
Makes sense.
I want to make sure I'm happy. Why would I be miserable just so you could be happy? And vice versa. I wouldn't want you to be miserable, but to make me happy. We should be in this together. And I feel like a lot of times people want the fairy tale, you know, relationship, the perfect on paper relationship, without also
400K
But yo, listen,
fantasy.
I gotta give him aspirations because I want to make 400K too.
right.
But I'm not gonna. For me, I look at it, I'm not making 400K so that, you know, you could live a life of leisure, although, and like.
Look, hey, one thing I'll say, she was honest and straight
I
to the point. She
respect it.
said, she started off with like, hey, I want a life of leisure. I was like, she used leisure.
Yeah, man.
I was like, I ain't even said leisure in a while.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about
And
it,
because then she's like, yo, like somebody was like, yo, I want somebody to hustle and grind and da-da-da. I'm like, yo, there's people hustling and grinding to get to that 40K. To that 50K. Just don't think just because it's a lower number in your mind that they're not hustling and grinding to even get to that number.
in all fairness, too, I do recommend, if you're watching this, watch the full clip, because some of the same people did say, hey, like that, the one who said that she wanted a grinder, she's like, the salary, as much, she gave a specific number, but she also said, like, as long as you're working towards something, then that's a good. So that was, you know, the context was there, like, oh yeah, some, you know, like, if you're willing, you know, working to that, I'm more willing to deal with that. But my thing is knowing that that standard is set there. It's a lot of pressure, man. It's a lot of pressure, and don't get it twisted. You know, pressure makes diamonds, but at the same time, you got to know who you're dealing with, because sometimes you deal with somebody who is okay making 65, 55.
Well, you know what? One of the ways that I recommend the short guys to tackle that pressure of being taller is get you them shoes that elevate yourself.
Absolutely not.
Because hey, double standards. Why can women get push-up bras? They got the booty pants now, but I can't have some shoes that make me look taller. And then when we get into the comfort of our home, you're like, yo,
here's the
you
thing,
just
though.
dropped like 5 inches.
Here's the thing, and this is what I'm gonna say is a double standard for men. I don't think you need to do all of that. You don't need to do. It's like the dudes who go out and get fake dreads. Why would you get fake dreads, my guy? You haven't seen those videos? There are people who are literally. I'm pretty sure your dreads are real. But my point is, you put the work in to get those dreads, right? I don't think I've known you for maybe 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I've never seen you without dreads. So you've been putting work in that whole time. This person went to the barbershop and in 40 minutes had dreads down to their back. That to me, that's whack, bro. And I'm gonna say that's a double standard because women can go and change their hair and that's fine.
Well,
but also
you,
I want to say one thing. It is we do have to keep in mind that the fashion industry has literally forced women to do a lot of things that would look good to men. So, the fact that women have no pockets on their pants is ridiculous, right? But that's something that they've had to deal with.
It's so weird.
But it's something that some man decided that they wanted to do that, women have, I think it was done, don't quote me, but I think it was done to make women buy bags. Because if you have a bag,
purses and stuff,
you don't need a pocket, right? Whereas guys don't really rock with bags, even though now guys rock with bags. They got that little fanny pack thingy going on all the time. And I don't see them taking the pockets off of men's jeans. So,
and I ain't gonna lie, man. The I'm gonna call it a miniature book bag, not a fanny pack. Man purse. I was like, hold on. I had to put the letters together. Hold on, what? But yo, man, that's convenient, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie, cause like having the big, it's like weird to me walking around with the big book bag like you're going to school.
All day, bro.
And like, so I don't know. It's each his own, but the thing is, I was gonna mention the fake dreads, right? I think the world is changing because one of my homegirls, like when I first met her, and she knows the story. If she hears this, she can be like, "You're so annoying, MVP." But anyway, because I tell her all the time, I never let her forget. But anyway, when I first met her, she had dreads, and so I have dreads, and so I was like, we both have dreads, and anybody who has dreads knows the struggle and the determination and everything that involves growing out dreads. Shout out to my dreadheads. And so I thought me and her was on the same page. And then like 2-3 weeks later, she was bald headed. And I was like, you lied to me. I thought we were dreadheaded kin.
Nope.
And we're not. And so some guys might feel some type of way. I think dreads specifically, like obviously braids and everything like that. But when it's dreads, it's like, yo, there's a struggle to get your dreads to look like the way you want to look.
You put work
into It's a lot of work into it. So I'm like, oh man, you put in the work, I put in the work, your dreads look good, my dreads look good. And then a couple days later, you're bald.
Listen,
she wasn't bald, but I like to say that just to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My thing is just be yourself. Like I remember, it's funny because I remember one of our mutual friends used to give me crap about my hair. He's like, you cut your hair so low, you should just go bald, right? And I'm like, I'm going bald. I mean, it happens to some of us, right? I won't say it happens to all of us, but I'm going bald genetically, whatever, right? And for me a long time, I used to keep it out a little lineup. You see, like it looked like a little dusting of hair, and then this guy,
hey, well, they got the
no.
pin
every time, no, real talk. Every time they ask for that, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And then one day, this dude pushed my hair back so far, I was saluting straight up. I'm like, yeah, just go bald, bro. Just cut it all off. And I've been bald since. I've been going bald since, and it's not a bad look. My thing is, at a certain point, you just gotta accept what it is. You're not gonna be tall, right? Like people doing surgeries and making them tall. Like to use another personal one that's kind of awkward for this. Your member is not going to be longer, so stop taking them pills. Don't do no surgery. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's surgeries for that, but like, why? Just own you and be confident
scary,
in you.
bro.
You end up with eunuch out here in these streets.
You
not taking those chances.
I don't know, man.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
That's dangerous.
Be happy with yourself. And that goes across the board.
Yeah.
Be happy with who
key.
you are, because you don't know what you have that somebody's out there praying for, wishing for, hoping for.
Wishing for it, yeah.
Whatever you believe, there's somebody out there wishing they had your life. So enjoy your life, man. Enjoy your life. So with that being said, we'll get to the last video for the day. And I actually, if you like this like where we review other videos and stuff like that, drop a comment, man. Hit us with a like, maybe a subscribe if you feel like it. But this other one, it was sent over by my homie DJ12, who found it on Twitch, and I'm sorry, not Twitch, on TikTok. And this was from a podcast whose name is eluding me right now, but it's on the video. But we'll also tag them in the comments below.
Okay.
But this one was talking about a specific situation between a married couple and pretty much like their conflicts with a job. And that's the only the lead up I'm going to give you to, because they're going to do a very good job surmising it. Apparently this podcast also got it from a Reddit sub channel. But either way, I figured we wanted to play their video and also give them credit, because we're all about building community. So let's go.
Yeah.
Am I the asshole for asking my husband to turn down his dream job for my career? I, 33 female, am the breadwinner of our household. I have multiple highly specialized degrees for a niche industry. I make $200,000 plus, the potential to get in the $600,000 to millions range. My company has not been hit that badly by COVID, so most of us have kept our jobs, but we're held to strict standards. My husband, 36, has a broad degree / work experience. He quit his job right before COVID hit, hoping for a better job in the meantime. I was supportive. He spent a lot of time applying to various jobs and finally landed an interview at Organization X. This was his dream job in almost every imaginable way. I can't be detailed. However, it's paying about $65,000 a year, which would be fine, except this job directly puts my job stability at risk. My company and this org are adversarial at best. My field is extremely secretive, and if clients discovered my spouse was working for a competitor, I would be permanently tainted. I wouldn't be able to get a job in the industry forever. I know this sounds like an exaggeration, but I promise you it's absolutely not. It'd be like if I worked in protecting the privacy of celebrities and he worked for TMZ. Even if I trusted my husband not to do that, my clients and company do not. Worse, because my background is so specialized, this is the only field I can work in. I asked him to drop from consideration for this job. $65,000 a year cannot support us in this city. Plus, he does not have to work for this organization. Even if the job market is awful right now, his background gives him access to a wide range of jobs, but I only have this one niche field. He was extremely angry and said I was selfish and only cared about money. And I told him that if he wanted to go back to school for an advanced degree or just be unemployed for a while, I would support him, but taking this job is impossible. He continued the process behind my back and got the offer. He wants to accept it because he says his career needs to take priority and that I wasn't being a supportive wife. I feel so betrayed. I've contacted all relevant higher ups in my company to inform them. I've notified them as soon as he got the interview because it's better coming from my email than from a background check. I told him he could decline the offer with me, watching him physically decline it, or he could accept the offer and move out immediately. I would pay for him to stay 2 weeks at a hotel, and we would begin divorce proceedings. My company is willing to take care of all my legal fees. I feel effing awful. I still love him. I moved decisively, because this would be the best way to cut my losses, but it still hurts. He called me heartless and cold. It's true that I was prioritizing my career over him, but it felt like it was the only option at the time.
So, yeah, so that was Comfort Level Podcast, which also we'll link in the bottom.
Well, right now I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. That what are your thoughts, man? I want to hear what your thoughts on there.
It's so much to unpack here. So one, dang, you just going to put out the divorce like, yo, peace, deuces? Like, I would want to know how long they're married, because I think that there's a way to have both, right? I think, right? One of the ways I'm thinking just off the top is an NDA, which is like, you can't disclose anything to anybody if this is going to be a conflict for your company. I don't know if that's possible here, but I didn't hear her even think that. It was just like, yo, this is what needs to happen. I don't care about your dream job. And the thing about dreams, they're precious. And so when you tell someone, especially if they have the opportunity and like it's almost into fruition, like they can almost grasp it. And you're like, hey, I don't care about your dream job because it's not paying enough. My job got 200, so I make more money than you. So this is what it is. But I was under the impression that women didn't even like that when guys do that. When guys are like, yo, I make all the money, so I make all the rules. So I thought that she would have more of a like let's try to figure this out. But it seemed like it was more like, yo, nah, like this not gonna work. And she's saying, hey, it's like TMZ and celebrity and stuff like that. And I'm like, don't you think some of these TMZ people and celebrities have some type of like relationships? Like, especially in that type of field, they all date and have sex with each other. Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but celebrities always dating other celebrities and TMZ is all in the mix and everything. So I feel like there's a way to do that. Don't quote me on it because I don't know, but it just seemed like she jumped the gun on that, in my opinion. And I'll leave it there for now.
Well, so there's a couple of things. I think that there is a issue with this relationship in general. I mean, this is me just, assuming, right? One of the things is that he knows that he was there in their conversation. He was made aware that that would be in conflict to her current job, which at that point was taking care of their family. So that was a person, she was the breadwinner, and was taking care of the family at that point. He went behind her back. And granted, as I said, we only have one part of the story. But according to her, he went behind her back and applied for the job and then got an interview. And even though he's knowing that there's a potential of this affecting your family and everything like that, he still went ahead. So that's why it's like, I get where you're coming from, because you're like, well, dang, the guy, he kind of, like he ended up getting the raw end of the short end of the stick. But he also he's responsible for this part of it, because what he did in this situation was they weren't moving as a unit. And to me, it's evident they weren't moving as a unit, because that should have been something that they had a conversation about. And it sounded like, we only heard one part of the story, but based on what she said in the video, in the Reddit post, was that she also volunteered for him to go back to school, or to go get or be unemployed. But he didn't want to do that. This is his dream job. So it's a weird thing. It's weird, and I say it's weird primarily because these are two people that probably should not have been married. Because I think that they were not working together. Because my thing is, if I think of my situation, I'm looking at an option that I can get a job, and I know that it's got like almost only a little bit more than half of what the person is who's like making the most in the relationship, and I could jeopardize that. I'm reconsidering.
Well, I actually have a question. Now that you mentioned that, like, not moving as a unit, shouldn't she know what his dream job is before they get married?
I mean, it's possible.
And so my question is, if I know this is your dream job, so there's two parts. It's like, one, if I know this is your dream job, how is it that we got to this point where, like, my job is in direct conflict of your dream job?
It could just be the dream job at that company, right? Because it could be like, for example, if like the TMZ analogy was actually really great, because if I am security for I don't know, insert celebrity name, right? But yet I'm calling TMZ every time they go out, I'm putting my client's job in jeopardy. So it is highly possible that the person's dream job could have been something that you could do at multiple different companies. And it just so happened the one that he applied to is a direct competitor of her current job.
Key word he would have had to apply to
Correct,
this job,
and that's
right?
what my point is. The thing about it is, it sounded like he knew that he was potentially doing this, and he told her, and he figured, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway, and then got all the way up to the point where there was a job offer. To me, that speaks like me just assuming the situation, because once again, we don't have both sides of this. But me assuming the situation, it sounds like a man who has his issues with the fact that he's not providing in the family at the time, and it's like, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. I've seen men do that a lot.
Because he's unemployed,
He's
right?
unemployed at this point.
Right.
Based on this
Okay.
conversation, it sounds like he's unemployed. So I'm assuming he went about this saying, oh, well, I need to do what's good for me or whatever. And alas, here we are.
Her response to that was,
deuces.
what I'm going to do what's good for me.
But you understand, like, I can't really fault her, because she's definitely given him options. But I said that the core of this story is that they did not work as a unit. That is not what you would want as a team member. That's literally like, to use a sports analogy, if I go up to get a rebound and then you block me from getting the rebound and we're in the same team. Like, who are you working for? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that, you got me thinking about spades, and when your partner cuts you, it's like the most like, bro, we in this together. We just gonna cut me.
So,
but okay, so quick exercise.
okay.
What if the roles were reversed? And it was her dream job, and he was making $200K. Do you think? Because I already feel like I know the answer, because I've seen it in movies. Don't judge me. But when that happens, the woman's like, she turns it into like which it seemed like the dude did the same thing, where like, you're so hard and cold and all this other stuff. But the dude doesn't normally divorce the woman. He usually just does what she says.
Here's the thing. I think in this situation where the job is literally on the line, I could see that happening.
Okay.
I could see that happening, bro. It's like, if well, I can't even think of a good analogy there. I was gonna say use a presidential analogy, but there's been such a cluster, right? I just want to leave that alone. But yeah, like it's like you're the leader of a country, and your significant other or your somebody you're dating, let's say you're not married, is the daughter of a rival's the rival countries. What would you still hire this person to be the leader of your country? Like, it seems wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know. I think more than anything else, I understand why she felt the way that she felt. I think they probably shouldn't have been together. That's my whole thing about that. They probably shouldn't have been together, because that just seems like it was destined to be kind of a failure.
Yeah, because the going behind the back thing is definitely
You might as well be cheating.
not cool. Yeah, you just cheated on me with your
You
job.
might as well be cheating, bro.
Great,
But
crazy. But then I'm like, the way she worded it, it was like, this is like the most, like, basically, it's a niche. So there's no way.
I mean, it's hot.
That she could get another job anywhere.
It's highly possible if it's a really small field. Like, if it's a small field that pays a lot, and probably she gets paid a lot because it is a small field. And in the small field, there's, like for example, in a podcasting world, we might do something that's large that only a few people see, right? But if podcasting was, like on some gladiator stuff where you had to kill like 20 people in order to be the person there, and you did something to mess up the name, everybody will know. And if it's a small niche, it's the same thing. If I'm, you're a dentist and they find out you're like, drugging people and stealing their kidneys, you're probably going to have a hard time, becoming a dentist somewhere else. So,
right.
Right.
I've seen situations, obviously these are not in real life because I don't know anybody in the situation, but like I've seen situations where like, oh, I got this job over here in this other state. And everybody's like livelihood is where they're at now, but they all get up and move because it's that person's dream job. And this is moving a whole nother state and like quitting the job that you have to go move out there with this person. I've seen that happen.
That's normally, and we've seen that happen in real life. It normally is based on some collective decision that you made to say, hey, our options are going to be better if we do this collectively. It doesn't sound like either person was considering the option as a team. It sounded like two people who already were at a rift or already had an issue, and this was just something, it was icing on the cake. I guarantee if you peel back the layers of that relationship, there are other things that are wrong there. There are other things that are wrong. This just happens to be one, this was the nail in the coffin. But there's other things that were wrong in that situation. I can guarantee it. I don't know these people, but it just seems like this is the top of the iceberg. There's a bunch of other, I mean, it's a big part of the top of the iceberg, but, it's still,
He about to lose that 200K.
But that's what I'm saying, like, if you were going into this role.
Hey, what's her name?
I don't know. They didn't specify.
Oh, I'm like, how old is she?
Okay, all right, sir.
My Reddit handle is.
Okay, all right. Can't take you nowhere.
I say this jokingly, but I have no problem being unemployed. Like, come over here, come hither.
It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? I've always wanted a cougar.
You don't know how old this person is.
I don't know.
They could be our age. What are you talking about?
Well, then even better, right?
But yeah, I mean, I think.
But sometimes I like a little seasoning with my meals.
What?
Because you're seasoned in the game, cougar, seasoned, veteran, older. See, no, too much. All right, I'm done. All right, okay. All right.
You know what?
Go ahead.
When you said that, I had no idea where you were going with it. So I'm glad that you landed that plane, but you could have let that one fly. You literally,
That's right,
you could let that one fly. No, I mean, I think looking at the one common thread amongst all of the videos we watched today is that people don't talk to each other, and it was clear that these people don't, especially in this last instant, they do not spend the time necessary to develop a cohesive relationship, because that's something you wouldn't do. In my situation, if my significant other is the person making the money and I'm trying to, like, I would literally try to find a way that I can support the unit, but build more, or if that's gonna jeopardize our current income, because it's what you're living off now. I'm not doing that, bro. I'm not doing it. I mean, would you do that? In the case where you think about it, you guys are together, that this job is what you wanted to do but at this company that directly jeopardizes your current house, would you do it?
Nah.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm a logical, analytic type of person.
That's my thing, is as someone who values like a team and somebody working together, man, I wouldn't even do that. Like, if somebody, like, for example, if we're doing this podcast thing together on In-Crowd Network, I'm not gonna go work with a competitor just because. No, just because of the money. Like, I'm trying to make sure it makes sense. And I don't think people think about it that way. Everybody's thinking about themselves. But either way, this has been a very interesting conversation. If you like this format where we add more videos to it, please let us know. We will continue to scour the internet to find things that are interesting to talk about. But this has been another episode of Juxtaposed. I guess we could officially say, it's officially on In-Crowd Network. We've changed our names from We Now to In-Crowd Network. So if you don't know, tell a friend, and ask a friend to tell a friend. But we will be dropping content every Monday. We set the hard standard. Every Monday you'll get a new piece of content, whether it's Juxtaposed or a review from our good friend Aaron, who was on our last episode and a bunch of episodes before. But we're trying to keep the content flowing. And that's all I got. Yeah. That's all I got. So once again, if you like what you saw, you know what to do. I gotta tell you what to do. but there's a little button downstairs, down the bottom there. If you just go ahead.
Just a little nudge,
just
nudge.
hit that off,
just in case you don't know what to do.
in case you're not aware. But it's been a fun time. See y'all in a couple weeks.
Yeah, next round.
Deuces.